Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Stonk Scrubby here, back again with another market update video. Usually we talk about all the news from the market, but today I wanted to focus on one story in particular that is at the intersection of stocks and video games. Microsoft ended up buying Activision Blizzard today for like a crap ton of money, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So without further ado, let's go.
Get quiet now, lay low when you reach zone, pipe down, make an out, stack the bread.
Alright, so the last couple years, Microsoft has kind of been slowly beefing up their gaming department. I mean, obviously, they're pretty dedicated to it. They're the makers of Xbox, but last year they purchased Bethesda, the makers of Fallout and Skyrim, for $7.5 billion. And so it seems like they're starting to build up a massive log of video game related IP because they're adding Activision Blizzard to that. Microsoft to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. Just a little chunk of change there. That being said, I'm not surprised it ended up being one of the biggest acquisitions Microsoft has ever done, if not the biggest. Simply because Activision Blizzard is a behemoth, dude. The amount of franchises they own is nuts, and the quality of some of the franchises they own is even better. You know, you gotta keep in mind that these are the people that, like, are behind Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Diablo, on top of the people behind Call of Duty, like some of the biggest games of all time, all being housed under one company, because now they own everything that Activision Blizzard has, along with everything that Bethesda had before. So truthfully, I think the Xbox Game Pass is going to start to be really beefed up in terms of quality, hopefully with how many more titles they just got. Microsoft is acquiring Activision, the troubled publisher of Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Diablo. The deal values Activision at $68.7 billion, far in excess of the $26 billion Microsoft paid to acquire LinkedIn in 2016. It's Microsoft's biggest push into gaming, and the company says it will be the third largest gaming company by revenue, behind Tencent and Sony. Alright, so obviously everything I'm about to say isn't financial advice, it's just my opinion for entertainment, you know, but I think this makes Microsoft an absolute behemoth, even though they still were before. But think about it, they're one of the biggest cloud computing companies, they make the most successful operating system at the current moment, they're going to be the third biggest gaming company, they own some of the most successful video game IP. On top of that, you know, they've been doing a good job of getting more involved when it comes to like getting data and selling data. Not great for privacy, but you can't lie that there's a value there. So I think in addition, you add the third biggest gaming company to the list. Microsoft is a pretty scary company, dude, in terms of just how absolutely massive it is. And obviously, I'm not surprised that Activision Blizzard was in a situation where they felt prompted to sell, because they've been getting torn apart by lawsuit after lawsuit about their behavior at that company. And, you know, the people that are currently running Activision Blizzard, if they are like really guilty of everything they've been accused of, chances are none of them were keeping their jobs anyways, and for good reason. And I bet you Microsoft also could sense the fact that they were going to be motivated to get a sale done. And overall, I do think Microsoft probably will do a better job of managing it than all of the accusations that have been swirling around. I mean, I'll be honest, Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard isn't necessarily surprising, considering that Activision Blizzard has basically been accused of being a worse place to work than like a salt mine. And on top of all the AAA titles we've already talked about that, you know, Activision and Blizzard own, I'm pretty sure that they also own Candy Crush, which is like the biggest mobile game of all time. So overall, you know, it's a pretty large company now, and that's both in software and selling games, and on the hardware side, Xbox is, you know, one of the three main consoles. Microsoft plans to add many of Activision's games to Xbox Game Pass once the deal closes, and with the acquisition of Activision, Microsoft will soon publish franchises like Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, Call of Duty, and Candy Crush. Upon close, we will offer as many Activision Blizzard games as we can within the Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, with both new titles and games coming from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalog, says Microsoft CEO of Gaming Phil Spencer. Alright, well, I just gotta say it again, not financial advice, I'm just theorizing here. I really think Microsoft's play here is they want to become the Netflix of gaming, right? I think our parents aren't in a situation where they're going to be willing to pay $10, $12, $15 a month to have access to a bunch of video games. That being said, our generation is getting older. Pretty soon we're going to be adults, and I have no doubt that our generation is going to be interested in a system where I can like pay $15 and have access to every game. Absolutely, that makes sense. So if you're looking towards the future, in my opinion, that's what Microsoft is trying to do here. Obviously, by adding all this stuff to the Game Pass, they make it a lot more lucrative to purchase. And, I didn't even know it was available on PC, but I think if you become a company that has all the AAA titles in-house and you have the pass that lets you access them, it puts you in a pretty good position to become a pretty dominant player when it comes to video game streaming, which I think is going to continue to grow. As our generation gets older, get better jobs, have more money, we're going to be willing to spend more on video games than our parents were, that's for sure, considering that when they were kids, it was like Pac-Man. I'm just saying, Microsoft seems to be playing pretty long-term here, in my opinion. And it'll be interesting to see how this works out. I mean, I know that the Xbox hasn't been the most profitable thing for them ever, but it definitely let them get their foot in the door when it comes to gaming. And that, in conjecture with a bunch of games that are in their backlog catalog, I think makes the future of Microsoft's gaming division pretty bright, in my opinion. We're investing deeply in world-class content, community, and the cloud to usher in a new era of gaming that puts players and creators first and makes gaming safe, inclusive, and accessible to all, says Microsoft CEO. I think another reason for this, in my opinion, has to do with the metaverse as well. By accumulating a bunch of, video game-related IP with how bonkers anything metaverse-related has been going lately, I think it wouldn't surprise me if we see Microsoft starting to have a foray into metaverse in one way or another. It is going to be a while till this deal closes, which is why so much of this, is, in my opinion, they haven't announced the specifics of the deal because it's supposed to close next year. And on top of that, people are going to have to approve this. I'm not necessarily confident 100% this is going to get approved. I think it's likely it will. However, I could see a situation where the government might start to be like, you guys have a little bit of a monopoly here if you're buying all the video game publishers. But, obviously, having a massive catalog of IP could help you out if the metaverse continues to become more and more important, and having digital products to sell digitally becomes more of like a profit margin for big companies, or a percentage of their profits, sorry. I think just having a lot of stuff to sell definitely comes in handy. When referring to all of the stuff I was talking about earlier with how bad it is to be at Activision, Microsoft doesn't detail exactly how it will approach solving these issues, and the company says Bobby Kotick will continue to serve as CEO of Activision Blizzard for now. It looks like he won't remain once the deal is fully closed and after the transition period to Microsoft, though. Spencer, formerly head of gaming at Microsoft, is now CEO of Microsoft Gaming, and the company says the Activision business will report directly to Spencer. As a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming among both employees and players, says Spencer. We deeply value individual studio cultures, and we also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment, and we're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Blizzard. Like I said, Blizzard is currently in the middle of an absolute crap ton of lawsuits about working at that company, whether it comes to, harassment, working conditions. Basically, all the employees there have talked about how it was a very not fun place to be working. I do think, from what I understand, that Microsoft has pretty good ratings from its employees when it comes to liking being employed at the company, so hopefully they're able to come in and make it a much better environment. That's one thing that I hope comes in the future as the gaming industry continues to grow. I know a lot of developers are treated very poorly, and a lot of cultures in the gaming community aren't the greatest. So hopefully they don't need to be working 90-hour weeks while having to worry about their boss harassing them or whatever. That would suck. But I think Microsoft, being the behemoth it is, hopefully is able to come in and fix those problems, If not, that would be very unfortunate. Microsoft's huge Activision Blizzard deal comes nearly a year after the company acquired Bethesda for $7.5 billion, and at the time, the acquisition bolstered the company's first Xbox game studio to a total of 23 and was seen as a huge boost for the Xbox Game Pass. Microsoft now expects the Activision Blizzard deal to close in the fiscal year 2023, which means we might not see this deal approved for up to 18 months. That's a long period of time for a deal to close, but Activision Blizzard operates in a number of markets, which could make regulatory approval more complicated for Microsoft. I know Microsoft was already getting some pushback from the government when it comes to being a monopoly, so I'm not surprised they're saying it could take up to 18 months for this to get approved. If it gets approved, I think the government in general is looking at big tech a lot more suspiciously than they used to. So I hope it gets approved for the good of Microsoft's sake, but, that being said, it is going to be a long time out. We don't know what could change from now until then. I will say it does make me optimistic for the future of Microsoft personally. I think it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Obviously, considering it was just announced today, we don't know enough to, really do anything about it yet. We'll have to see how it unravels. Obviously, it's not even like they're going to own them for another 18 months yet, but I just figured this news was a pretty big deal. Activision Blizzard is one of the biggest publishers for sure, and then being purchased by a huge gaming company. Pretty big news, but that's going to do it for the video, guys. If you enjoyed, I would really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought, and of course, subscribe if you're new. Turn on notifications. If you really want to help me out, I will put a link to the intro song down below, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or, of course, you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. You get a discount on G Fuel. It helps me out. I'd very much appreciate it. And, other than that, the last link down there is going to be a link to my merch store. If you want to check it out and pick yourself up a t-shirt, I definitely would appreciate it. It's the coolest merch to ever exist, not that I'm biased. And on that note, that'll do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.